What's wrong with having a couple liberal Jews help us out? What's wrong with having a couple liberal Mexicans or Latinos help us out? What's wrong with a few benevolent Chinese? The reason you have to refuse outside help, outside money, and outside support is because black people have to be convinced that you can win by your damn self. When you go home tonight, take every white image in your house and burn it. Not because you hate white people, but in order to restore self-respect to African people, you cannot worship the enemies of another race. And don't put it in the trash. Because if you put a picture of Jesus Christ in the trash in Tennessee, another Negro will come along, take it out the trash, and put it back on their wall. You got to burn it. That's how much we in love with blue eyes. We have to put black people's issues first. And in order to do that, we have to stop speaking of other people's issues. When you open your mouth, you are representing black people alone. I am sick and tired of black people pulling into a conversation about black justice the issues of brown people who never pull black issues into their conversation. You pull in issues of yellow people who never pull issues of black people into their conversation. You pull issues of red and white. For what? Name me a people who have ever stood by black people. Name me a group who has ever stood by us in our fight. I am not anti-immigrant at all, but I am anti-immigrant bigotry. And many of these immigrants who come to America, not my African brothers and sisters, I'm speaking of non-African immigrants, they don't come here to stand by you. They come here to replace you. One of the reasons President Joe Biden wants to fast-track 5 million immigrants to American citizenship is he wants to have more immigrants he can depend on for Democratic votes so they no longer have to cater to the issues of black folks. Brothers and sisters, the immigrants are here to replace you. I did not say disrespect them. I did not say antagonize them. I simply want you to understand, overstand, and understand that the black man has no friends. And you don't need no friends. The only people we need are one another. But until we hate racism more than we hate each other, nothing will change. We have a bad habit in the black community of only wanting to outdo black people. You never want to outdo the white power structure. You never want to outdo the European Jewish power structure. You never try to outdo the Chinese power structure. You only want to be the head nigger in charge. And that HNIC syndrome, that HNIC disease is an artifact of post-traumatic slavery disorder. And let me tell you where it comes from. See, in order to understand the HNIC crisis in the black community, why are we the only people who believe only one black person can make it at a time? Why are we the only people who believe if a black woman opens her own business, no other black woman can? If a black man succeeds in his dream, no other black man can. If your child gets a full scholarship to college, no other black child can. Where did we come up with this idea that only one Negro could make it and all other must fail? It comes from the plantation. Back on the plantations of Tennessee, and back on the plantations of South Carolina, and back on the plantations of Kentucky, they had manumission laws that only allow you to free a few slaves at a time. And those slaves could only be freed by sabotaging and informing on other slaves. And so what happened on the plantation was we learned two things. Number one, you can only make it by sabotaging other black people. Number two, if you make it, you got to be the only one to do so. And that mindset, that HNIC crab in a bucket mindset is still with us now, 157 years after emancipation. They might have took the chains off your body, but they never took the chains off your brain. And until we achieve psychological emancipation, until we achieve intellectual emancipation, until we achieve spiritual emancipation, we will never be free. Brothers and sisters, as Pan-Africanists, we believe all black people are one people. No matter where we are in the world, we are but one. Don't focus on where the slave ship brought you. Focus on where the slave ship came from. Brothers and sisters, we believe that as African people, everything we must do must be done alone, by ourselves, without any non-African money and without any non-African participation. Why? What's wrong with having a couple of liberal whites help us out? What's wrong with having a couple liberal Jews help us out? What's wrong with having a couple liberal Mexicans or Latinos help us out? What's wrong with a few benevolent Chinese lending their hand to help black people get their act together? The reason you have to refuse it is not because they may be insincere. The reason you have to refuse outside help, outside money, and outside support is because black people have to be convinced that you can win by your damn self. You got to learn how to walk alone, or you will never learn how to walk at all. We have been depending on the white breasts for too long. Every time we have a problem, we look to the government to solve it. We have to make up our mind. Is the U.S. government a problem, or is it our solution? Because it can't be both. It can't be both. Why is a $2 trillion people begging the government to solve its problems is beyond me. But I'll tell you where it comes from. It comes from the infantilism of black consciousness. It comes from a mindset of a child. Children don't think long term about their futures because their parents are responsible for doing that. Children don't pay bills. Their parents are responsible for that. Children don't think of saving their money to take care of responsibilities because it's their parents' job to do that. A child gets money and they spend it on whatever they want. That's exactly what you do in Memphis. Just like a child. You don't get your paycheck and say, let's sit down and let's buy a building and open up a laundromat and put some of these young children to work so they ain't got to rob and steal and kill. You don't think like that. When you get your paycheck after you pay your bills, you don't take your disposable income and say, who else wants to join me for a sit down on how we're going to open up Memphis's first black independent school of this decade. You don't say, how are we going to open up our own movie theater, our own shopping plaza, our own credit union, our own bank. You don't think about doing for yourself. You are comfortable letting white Tennessee dictate your life. And when they don't make decisions that are in your best interest, just like a child, you have a temper tantrum. And after you have a temper tantrum, you go right back to your dysfunctional behavior. Listen to me, Tennessee. We are different from every other race in this country on three main areas. Number one, we do not use our money to solve our problems. Black people will use their vote to solve their problems. You will use your protest to solve your problems. You will use your prayer to try to solve your problems. But we never collectively, as a community, use our money to solve our problems. How are you going to catch up? How are you going to build your own institutions? How are you going to safeguard your children's future? How are you going to create jobs to stop the crime in Memphis if you don't start using your money to finance your liberation? Second reason you're different, You're the only people in America who will not organize with your own race if they don't worship God the way that you do. My mother is a Christian. I have no issues with Christianity. I have a tattoo of Jesus Christ on my left shoulder, the black one, that is. Because see, in Memphis, Tennessee, we got two Jesuses. We got a black one and we got a white one. Some of you right here, right now, got a white Jesus in your house. Don't lie. You won't get rid of it because you say it's been in your family for 8 generations. Grandmom gave it to you from the plantation. Well, you tell grandma we're going to have a ritualistic assassination of this picture. When you go home tonight, take every white image in your house and burn it. Not because you hate white people, but in order to restore self-respect to African people, you cannot worship the enemies of another race. And don't put it in the trash. Because if you put a picture of Jesus Christ in the trash in Tennessee, another Negro will come along, take it out the trash, and put it back on their wall. You got to burn it. That's how much we in love with blue eyes. That's how much we in love with green eyes. That's how much we in love with pale skin. I just learned the other day, black people spend over $10 billion on skin bleaching creams every year across the world. Trying to rob yourself of your melanin. Because you don't understand the universal significance of your melanin. This is not color. This is power. This is energy. This is your birthright. You don't kill your complexion for your enemy. But we still got grandmothers in Tennessee. When the grandbaby come home from the hospital, y'all still looking behind their ear to see how dark they're going to get. We still got aunties and uncles in Tennessee. When they want to spend some time with their niece and nephew, you still going to the lightest child. Or we have the opposite situation, where you have a dark-skinned auntie, uncle, blue, black, purple, beautiful grandmother or grandfather who been so ridiculed over their skin color that they reject the lighter-skinned children in the family. So we got light-skin supremacy and dark-skin supremacy, and both of them are the children of white supremacy. Get rid of the isms. We don't have no time for isms. America is trying to bury the black man and woman. They're trying to do it locally and they're trying to do it globally. You got to teach your child who they are. Imitation is death.